Good morning, welcome to Sunday School, and I've got something very exciting to give to Jenny today. Two special presents for you, but there's an important rule with these presents. You're only allowed to choose one of them to open.
Oh.
So I've got two different ones, it's up to you. Here you go. Which
Do
one do
I
you think
want
you'd like to open?
One in a really nice spotty bag that looks like could be really good in there, or a carry bag. I don't think I like how that one looks. I'm going to choose
You're going
this
with that
one,
one.
please.
You sure? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Can I open it now?
You can open it.
Let's have a look. Oh. Ah. I've got a lovely sock. I think it's clean, but I'm not going to smell it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Right.
You happy with that choice?
Well, it looked really lovely on the outside. I thought there was something really, really lovely inside, but it's a very nice stripy sock, but it is one old stripy sock.
Kind of regretting your choice now, thinking you should have gone for this one.
There might be something better in that one.
You want me to show you?
Go on then, show me what I could have won. Ah, chocolate bar. I should have chosen that one.
Should have chosen this one.
Today we're looking at choices and consequences. Every choice we make has a consequence. I chose the bag that looked best on the outside, but it wasn't with the best present on the inside. So sometimes our choices have good consequences and sometimes they don't. Now we're going to carry on reading our Bible story in Genesis where we left off last time, and we're looking at when Adam and Eve had a really important choice to make.
Adam and Eve lived happily together in their beautiful new home, and everything was perfect for a while, until the day when everything went wrong. God had a horrible enemy. His name was Satan. Satan had once been the most beautiful angel, but he didn't want to be just an angel, he wanted to be God. He grew proud and evil and full of hate, and God had to send him out of heaven. Satan was seething with anger and looking for a way to hurt God. He wanted to stop God's plan, stop this love story right there, so he disguised himself as a snake and waited in the garden. Now God had given Adam and Eve only one rule. Don't eat the fruit on that tree, God told them. Because if you do, you'll think you know everything. You'll stop trusting me, and then death and sadness and tears will come. You see, God knew if they ate the fruit, they would think they didn't need him, and they would try to make themselves happy without him. But God knew there was no such thing as happiness without him, and life without him wouldn't be life at all. As soon as the snake saw his chance, he slithered silently up to Eve. "Does God really love you?" the serpent whispered. "If he does, why won't he let you eat the nice, juicy, delicious fruit? Poor you, perhaps God doesn't want you to be happy." The snake's words hissed into her ears and sunk down deep into her heart like poison. "Does God love me?" Eve wondered. Suddenly, she didn't know anymore. "Just trust me," the serpent whispered. "You don't need God. One small taste, that's all, and you'll be happier than you could ever dream." Eve picked the fruit and ate some, and Adam ate some too. And a terrible lie came into the world. It would never leave. It would live on in every human heart, whispering to every one of God's children, "God doesn't love me." And it wasn't a dream, it was a nightmare. A dove flew from Adam's hand. A deer darted in a thicket. It was as if they were frightened by something. A chill was in the air. Something strange was happening. They had always been naked, but now they felt naked and wrong, and they didn't want anyone to see them, so they hid. Later that evening, as God was taking his walk, he called to them, "Children?" Usually Adam and Eve loved to hear God's voice and would run to him, but this time they ran away from him and hid in the shadows. "Where are you?" God called. "Hiding," Adam said. "We're afraid of you." "Did you eat the fruit I told you not to eat?" God asked them. Adam said, "Eve made me do it." "What have you done?" God asked. Eve said, "The serpent made me do it," and terrible pain came into God's heart. His children hadn't just broken the one rule, they had broken God's heart. They had broken their wonderful relationship with him, and now he knew everything else would break. God's creation would start to unravel and come undone and go wrong. From now on, everything would die, even though it was all supposed to last forever. You see, sin had come into God's perfect world, and it would never leave. God's children would be always running away from him and hiding in the dark. Their hearts would break now and never work properly again. God couldn't let his children live forever, not in such pain, not without him. There was only one way to protect them. You will have to leave the garden now, God told his children, his eyes filling with tears. This is no longer your true home. It's not the place for you anymore. But before they left the garden, God made clothes for his children to cover them. He gently clothed them, and then he sent them away on a long, long journey, out of the garden, out of their home. Well, in another story it would all be over, and that would have been the end. But not in this story. God loved his children too much to let the story end there. Even though he knew he would suffer, God had a plan, a magnificent dream. One day he would get his children back. One day he would make the world their perfect home again. And one day he would wipe away every tear from their eyes. You see, no matter what, in spite of everything, God would love his children with a never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. And though they would forget him and run from him deep in their hearts, God's children would miss him always and long for him. Lost children yearning for their home. Before they left the garden, God whispered a promise to Adam and Eve. It will not always be so. I will come to rescue you. And when I do, I'm going to do battle against the snake. I'll get rid of the sin and the dark and the sadness you let in here. I'm coming back for you, and he would. One day, God himself would come. So Adam and Eve had the most important choice of all to make, whether or not to obey God. They had that choice because God lets us make choices. Both Adam and Eve had the choice to eat the fruit or not eat the fruit. Their choices had consequences, including feeling shame, having to leave the garden, being separated from God, and knowing that one day they would die. The consequences of their decisions were huge. The choices Adam and Eve made to disobey God mattered a lot.
So in our story, we saw that Adam and Eve had a choice to make and that there were serious consequences. And we have that in our lives every day as well. Perhaps there might be a test at school and you have to choose whether to do your best or to cheat and maybe get all the answers right. But there'll be consequences to that. Perhaps mum's bought a big pack of cookies and she puts them on the side and says they're to save to later, don't eat them now. And you have to choose, do you try and sneak one and get an extra cookie? And do you risk the consequences of being caught and being found out? Every day we're faced with choices and we have to stop and think, what would the consequences be? What choice am I going to make? So today, we're going to have a go at making something to help you remember. So, I've got some red paper and I've drawn a nice big circle on it. I drew around a plate. I've cut it out and I've also drawn around a saucepan lid a smaller circle inside, so I'm going to fold that into quarters so I can safely cut the middle out with my pair of giant scissors. I'm just going to cut a bit off the middle, then I can open it back out and cut that into a circle because I want a nice big red circle. So let me just cut out my circle. I'm going to make a stop sign like you'll have seen on the roads. When you see a stop sign, the cars have to stop. They don't have a choice to keep going, they've got to stop and check it's safe before they carry on. So our stop sign is going to help you stop and think before you make your choice. So cut out my circle, my bits to the side. I feel like I'm on Blue Peter. I'm going to get some glue and glue my red stop sign onto a big piece of paper so I can hang it up somewhere at home where I can see it. I'm going to put it right in the middle, I think. So stick that on. There we go, so I've got my big red stop sign and I'm going to write in the middle, I'm going to write stop, stop and think. Oop. Like that. Stop and think. I think I put this in my kitchen, it's probably the room I'm in most in my house. So if I've got a difficult phone call or a choice to make, I can look at this on the wall and stop and think, right, what would God want me to do? What is the best choice? What is going to give me the good consequences?
You can obey or disobey God, it's your choice. Since God lets us make our own choices, He won't ever make us obey Him. He hopes that we love Him enough that we want to obey Him. There are lots of people in our lives that we can choose to obey or disobey. Our parents, our teachers, sports coaches, Sunday school leaders. When we obey these people, we are also obeying God. So this week, ask God to help you to obey Him by obeying your parents, teachers, and His word, the Bible. That's all for this week. Now, do I be nice and give this to Jenny, or shall I just enjoy it for myself?